Welcome to Men Unfiltered, a podcast that looks at men today, addressing what's changed, what needs to be restored, and modeling the God-ordained role of man himself. His responsibility as provider and protector, leader and lover. This show sets out to destroy the current narrative that has an apparent mission to emasculate men and purposefully restore them in an empowered position by addressing accountability for their own health, money stewardship, and commitment to leaving a legacy. Unashamedly, here are Men Unfiltered.
It's another Monday live and living color. This is Men Unfiltered. I'm one of your hosts. I'm the real GM, the health evangelist, Grayson Marshall Jr. And in the top right tonight, none other than
Dr. Adrian, never forget the A. Gentry. I've been on bed rest, so I'm not going to get extra this evening. But we're here. We're here for you guys.
I'm a man at the bottom with the studio lights like nobody else.
The studio lights, Chris Allen on the grind, coach. It's always good to be back here with my brothers discussing life.
Dark sunshine.
Dark sunshine.
That's what's up.
I like it. Discussing life and things how we see it.
I mean, and I think that I was having lunch with my daughter today, and it was a good time. We spent like 3 hours at lunch, and I always take my girls out. I take them all out for their birthday, and my daughters get to pick where they want to go. So she want to go to Cooper's Hawk, and it was a good time just to talk about life, and she was really getting Dad's perspective on where she was. She'd been challenged with some things, and I think oftentimes we don't really have the opportunity to have discussions. And I think the basis for a lot of these discussions is so different from when we were younger and where they are today. It's good to have a conversation with the way they're thinking and how they're influenced and what motivates them and moves the needle in their own emotional state. So with that being said, Doc has been on bed rest, so y'all lay hands on the screen for Dr. Adrian, never forget the age entry, a.k.a. thought he had COVID, but does not. So
it's a blessing that he doesn't have COVID.
Yes, and y'all lay hands on the screen and let them prayers vibrate through there. But he came up with the topic tonight, and what he wants to discuss, real life and up close and personal, is this. Are you committed to the situation or to the relationship? Are you committed to the situation or to the relationship? So I'm going to yield to the good doctor, and I'm going to have you kind of introduce what you feel warranted this this thought for us tonight so we can elaborate on it.
All right, so I got an inbox message, right?
Okay.
Lady says, today I seen a topic on social media about men saying women ask for money immediately after meeting. I was wondering, is that something that a lot of men and women deal with? It's like dating is more transactional than anything these days. So we kind of put that in my mind, right? Like a majority of people in it for the situation, or they in it for the relationship, long term. And I think we're really falling into that place of everything being transactional as far as relationships go, versus it being a true commitment to that person or that relationship. Marriages, you see they're falling off at the highest rate ever, right? But are people really committed, right? Like, do people really want to be in relationships? Or are they in it when they're happy, when things are well? Are they there when are they going to be there if things fall apart? Because I notice a lot of people are getting married just for that now, right? You're hearing about all the time. People looking for money in a relationship. People looking for somebody, they got to have 6 figures. They got to be this. They got to be that. But nobody's really talking about what they want to bring to the relationship or what they're willing to sacrifice or deal with in a relationship. As far as, are we willing to go to death do us part? Are we willing to go through the rich or for poor, right? Nobody's talking about that portion. They're talking about if this makes me happy. So it has a question, like, what do you guys think about relationships today? Are people really committed to relationships or just the situation the relationships put them in?
I honestly really believe, good question. I honestly believe that the former of what you said is probably greater in the fact that people are looking at partners for benefits, meaning that how does this best work for me? Because let's say you have two people, Doc, who don't want to get married. They will align themselves together in a situation so that they can benefit the most from their two separate lives being one. They find the benefit in that, but because they don't want to embrace all the other stuff that goes along with it, then they'd rather just be in this, again, transactional relationship. But I think that's because everything's conditional. I mean, the reality is there was one time where a prenuptial agreement was only for certain folks, but I think there are unwritten prenups in just about every relationship now, that if this doesn't work here, I'm out. And I think that's how we actually go into it. I don't know if people even really go into relationships anymore for the longevity. I mean, because I think relationship has become so non-definitive, just like a lot of things that we're talking about. I think it's fluid, as we talk about gender fluidity. I think relationships are fluid. You know, it's like with everything else, I think we've gotten to a place where they don't want to define anything black or white anymore. I think everything is arbitrary and everything's up for how it works for you. So we've gotten away from this being a standard. And now the standard is, well, what works for you? Because you and that person may have an understanding of where y'all are, and that works for y'all. That wouldn't work for these people over here, but it don't matter because it works for us. And I think at one point there was a model of dating, there was a model of marriage, there was a model of all those things that I think are all completely now up to the discretion or up to the belief system of who's ever engaging, and that's where it goes.
Chris, what say you?
Yeah, I think I agree with Coach. Well, both of you guys. I think at the day and age that we're in right now, that model is no longer the same as what it was when our grandfathers and our grandparents were doing their thing. And I think people are in it, not so much transactional. I do see the transactional piece, but I definitely see more folk coming together saying, okay, this is what I'm going to bring to the table. And if you were bringing this to the table, now combine my one plus your one, now we got two.
Right.
Well, once we got the two, we good. But what happens if you lose your one? Now, when you lose your one, now I got a problem now because like I'm starting all over. So I definitely think it's more, and I don't even know the word, but what's beneficial for me, and if it's beneficial for you, let's get together.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I'm seeing things now.
Because here's the deal, Chris. When it doesn't work, we go.
Yeah,
it's not like when it does. It's not like there's no option for it not to work. When it doesn't work, I'm out. And that's kind of where we're at. I think that's an accepted practice now, when it used to be frowned upon.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be, and I remember growing up in DC, when I didn't see much divorce.
Right.
I just didn't, even in my own family. I didn't see it. But then I saw other people, when I got out of DC and I got in different cultures and different places, I saw people that were comfortable with it. It was commonplace for them.
Sure.
So I think that there's truly a, Doc, there truly is a change in that when it comes down to it, and I think that let's look at anything else. Let's look at jobs now. There used to be a time where you got on that job, Chris, and you stayed for 40 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I stay until it feels good. If it doesn't, I'm out. You know, there's no more commitment to company anymore. There's no more commitment. I think that's across the board.
Right.
When it comes to people will walk away from jobs. They'll walk away from just about anything now because it's acceptable to leave because of your feelings.
Right.
Yeah.
It's acceptable for your feelings to drive your behavior.
Right.
When before that was seen as an immature response when somebody get in their feelings, but now it's an expected response and it's an accepted one. You know, so yeah, I believe that they're committed to the situation, not the relationship, because I'm not sure that word is that word even used anymore? Relationship? I mean, they've even gone, they call it situationships, they call it entanglements. I mean, they've gone away from even using the word anymore.
Right, relationship.
You know what I'm saying? We're dating, we're getting to know each other, we're talking. You know, it's not that word relationship, because I believe it carries a message that's deeper Let's call them entanglements. Let's call them situationships. Let's call them everything but a relationship because I don't want the accountability.
I think what happens is we all have our definition of what a relationship looks like. And the problem happens when my relationship definition doesn't match your relationship definition. Now we have issues because it doesn't look the same any longer. We know we like each other. We know we want to be together, but my definition means this and yours means that. So how do you come together in the middle and figure out, well, what's best for us? Because now we might need to redefine the definition of what that relationship is.
That's what I mean, Chris. I don't think there is a coming to the middle anymore. I think you came to the middle when there was an established understanding and you found out maybe where you were falling short or where you needed to come up a little bit. Now, because it's so fluid, like you said, the definition is so different, it's so fluid. Now we just look for somebody to fit the fluidity, right?
Based off of what we want, though. Like,
Okay.
that's what I said. It's not for the relationship as a whole. It's based off what I want and what's
Correct.
going to
Correct.
I remember doing a podcast one time with some females, and we were talking about relationships. And one of the things they said was, the man I have to date has to have 6 figures. And I'm like, well, how do you filter through this, right? Like, how do you? Hey, you got 6 figures? Like, do you make 6 figures? Like, how do you filter through these men as you're dating them? And the thought process was they have to have 6 figures. So the reality is, beautiful women, their prerequisites for getting into a relationship is a man with 6 figures. So that would only lead me to the belief system that if they lost their 6 figures, so have they lost you.
Correct.
And I think that's what we've gotten to, right? So it's not about the character of a person anymore. It's about what they make. It's about what can they do for me. And it's funny that both of them are still single because me as a man, as soon as you start talking about finances of how much I make, yeah, you've turned me off 100%, right? But at that point, because we ain't going to be in a situation, right? Yeah, where if something go wrong, I get sick, the money's going, we're never getting in the situation where you want me for anything but me.
Right. But you got to understand that back in the day, that's how men determine their worth when they ask that girl's father, can I take her hand in marriage? That father wanted to know, well, can you take care of my daughter? What you do for a living? He didn't care about your morals and ethics. He want to know, well, if I give my daughter's hand to you, don't bring her back here talking about you need a place to stay, you need some money or whatever. Can you financially take care of this woman who is sitting at the house being the mother of your children? Can you take care of her? Can you take care of them kids that she got? Or do I have to worry about them being put out on the street? Because remember now, back in the day, the roles was clearly defined. The man's role was to go to work, bring home the bacon, and what the woman said, she gonna fry it up in a pan. There was commercials all on the TV about it.
Never let you forget you a man.
Yeah, they won't let you forget.
Yeah, I ever did.
That was all about it. And so that woman's role was to stay at home, make sure these kids was clothed and fed and taken care of in school, while the man's responsibility and sole responsibility was to go out there and break that bread. Nowadays, it ain't that. These women are out here. They bringing home the bacon. They frying it up in the pan. Hell, some of them are even bringing the skillet to the relationship. You know. And so now all of a sudden it no longer becomes the defined roles, but it's more so of a partnership.
Right, but that's a difference. A difference between this is becoming a partnership, and this is me wanting a man to take care of me. Right? So we've got the different, now it's completely different. You're right. The man was back then, he would go out, he would work. Also have to understand we were dealing with one car families. We were dealing with a lot less than we were today.
Absolutely.
Right? To live financially, if we still lived that way, we wouldn't even need but one income. Now you almost need 2 incomes to survive.
Yep.
But you're talking about the difference between a partnership and a person that's looking to get into a relationship for a come up. You're looking for someone looking to get into a relationship to have much more than they had. So not only have the roles shifted a little bit and women are making money, and fantastic, that's what's up. But to look for a person to put you in a higher position and to not have respect for them if they lost it, then or be ready to leave the relationship is completely crazy to me.
Yeah, so I think those are 2 different perspective, because on one end, like Antia talks about, men and women nowadays both want someone who is financially stable, who is he or she wants to know that the other can support and have their back if need be. That's that partnership type of scenario, right?
That's for a man's side too.
That is for a man's side, absolutely.
That's for a man's side too. I want someone to have my back. It's not a dollar amount place to it.
Yeah. I totally 100% agree with it. It's both of us. I think nowadays we're both looking for someone to make sure that the stability of this family is going upwards and not downwards.
Yeah, but so is the stability of the family only financial? The stability of the family isn't spiritual? The stability of the family isn't, and those things are gone out the window now. See, that's what I believe God's getting to. All those things don't even matter, because if you have a praying husband, that's not, so here's the deal. It used to be leading the household in all areas. Now, this is why we talk about the compromise, because they'll deal with a half-baked joker if it's paper right.
They sure will. Yeah.
So
it doesn't matter if he's a good moral guy. It doesn't matter if he's a praying guy. It doesn't matter. Those things don't seem to matter anymore. These situations tend to be based on money.
I would even have to say that's not just I think we see it more because we have social media and there's a lot more blatant statements out there. But I think it's always been that way. Think about the men throughout times. As long as that joker had paper, he was able to have multiple families. You know, some of our grandfathers, you know what I'm saying? You come mess around, you find out that you got 2 or 3 different cousins and sisters, because he got multiple families. And mama knew it. The grandmother knew it at some point that Uncle Joe or her husband had multiple families. But he provided and made sure that family was taken care of. So it's not just a nowadays thing. We see it because it's all on the internet. We got songs about it. They write songs about it saying if he ain't got no money, he don't deserve none. So I think that it's more blatant in your face, but I think it's always been, if that man got money, the rules kind of change a little bit.
Yeah, but I think, Chris, the difference is that back then most women had no access to making money. So there was a lot more they were willing to access. Nowadays, nowadays that they have that, they're less tolerant of it. So now,
less tolerant of that.
But here's the deal. So now the requirement's even greater, because I don't need you. Before,
right. There you go.
It's who I was, but now I don't need you. So the requirement's greater, which again leads us away from truly having a relationship. Because let's say you had the money, Chris, and lost it. Does she have your back still, or are you dismissed at that point? Because somebody that has my back believes in me.
You better make sure by the time
left, she believes in me to get it back, or I'm gonna help you get it back. Is that the way it is today, or is it once that's gone, you to the left?
I hate to say it, but I think it determines when y'all got together. Did she get with you when you was on your rise and you didn't have nothing, and she saw that you was broke, and you was riding around in a hoopty, and then y'all built something together? I think in those particular cases, I think you got you somebody who's got your back and is going to help you rebuild. But if she got you when you are already making $90,000, $100,000, $200,000 a month, and that's what she caught you was because you was making $90,000 to $100,000 a month, and now you want to talk about, hey, I'm about to go back and work in Burger King. I don't think she's staying. I honestly don't think that chick is gonna stay with you, because, especially now, is she a dime? You know what I'm saying? I just don't think that she's gonna stay with you working at McDonald's when you pick her up on.
And I think that's the sad part.
That's right.
I think that's horribly sad that you would get with a person only based off of finances. Mm-hmm. And then I wonder this: how many times have you been through a relationship with a person that was financially solvent and it tore apart, and you still have this idea that you want another person that's financially solvent, right? If only thing you're chasing is the money, what kind of true bond do you have inside of this relationship? And I think we're really getting to that, man. Like the idea that, remember, Coach was doing it, doing the dating thing, and it's like these females out here dating for dinners. Like if you're dating for a dinner, bruh, a $50 dinner. If you're dating for a dinner, how much stick-to-itness will you have inside of a relationship?
Right.
Again, I think we're back to, as you said, Doc, and I think, Chris, I think you're bringing the real Chris where it is. Doc's bringing the practical. But when I look at this thing, what does really having your back mean then?
Right.
You only so is it really you only have my? It's no different than I only like the Lakers when they win it. When they losing, I don't like them no more. If that's my team, that's my team. I'm with them, do or die. Well,
Right.
as a Clemson Tiger, that's who I am. I'm with them, do or die. But
have we lost the moral fortitude to stay in that relationship?
Yeah, because
have we lost it across the board?
Right.
Like as a society, like have we lost those standards? Right? Because think about it for a second. When you were younger, for a teenage woman to get pregnant was out of control.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was shunned. It was frowned upon everybody in the community. If I look at divorce, exact same thing. It was looked upon horribly as a community. If I look at Jewish law, right, they despise divorce so much that their divorce rate is somewhere like 10%. As we're somewhere around 51%. So we're topping half of the relationships. Mm-hmm. So have we just lost the ability to have those type of morals or those type of ideas that once you marry someone, it's for life? Or once you get into this relationship, we stick to it no matter if they lose a leg, no matter if they lose money. Look, we're going to try to stick this thing out. Do we not have that ability anymore?
I think it's a struggle, Doc, because of the ideologies that now permeate our society. Like my podcast this morning was, do you want to go where you're celebrated? And we have a whole dynamic of narrative now that people say, I'm going to go where I'm celebrated. I want to go where I'm celebrated. Well, here's the deal. If you go where you're celebrated, if that's all you're looking for, then you're going to miss out on the process of life. Because if you're only around people that are celebrating, that you are where you're celebrated, now it's different than celebrating you. See, if I'm celebrating you, I'm walking it with you and championing you and lifting you up when you go. When you only want to go where you're celebrated, you're entering into a place where you're all comfortable. Mm-hmm. I celebrate you here because it's comfortable, it's safe. We're all the same. We're all struggling. We celebrate you for being in the struggle with us. And I think that's kind of where we are. All these ideologies that exist now move us away from a servant mentality. They move us from servant to selfish. Mm-hmm. And we call that boundaries. We call that establishing boundaries. No, that's selfish. That's hiding. That's literally confining my insecurity. Mm-hmm. And I think to be in a relationship, insecurity has got to go out the window. It can't be here. But because I don't have to hold myself accountable to that, Doc, I can walk away. It's permissible. Half the world doing it. So what's wrong with me doing it? I mean, all three of us have been through divorces. And so the reality is it's not what we wanted, but it was a result of what things happened in our lives, right? So starting over, engaging again, we have a different perspective on it. But I think that, again, what's becoming common is tolerable. And when it's tolerable, I don't have to define it. Just like if I'm identifying something, if I'm identifying as a certain thing, it means I don't want to be accountable for it. I just want to be this, leave me alone. Right. And I think we've gone through that in our relationships. I don't really want to be accountable. So I don't have to be. I'm tired. You ask me where I've been. I'm gone. Well, I'm not asking you where you've been because I'm on you. I'm asking you where you've been because I care. Here's where it's coming. But if that's what you see it as and how you frame it as, then it's not going to matter. Mm-hmm. So for us as men especially, it becomes even more challenging the second and sometimes third time around because of what's been damaged in men that we quietly never talk about. So we going into another relationship involves healing. It involves us letting go of some stuff. And most people today don't want to let go of it. They want to hold on to the hurt so that they think I'll never experience it again. But holding on to it only creates the opportunity for it to happen again.
Right. And I love the fact that you say comfort, right? Mm-hmm. Going where you're celebrated, being in that comfort place. And I think that's a lot of the problem that we have in relationships is because you want to be comfortable. And I talk about it, we talk about it all the time. Those initial chemical responses that happen inside of your body, the dopamines, the serotonins, the oxytocin, like all of those things that happen when you generally first get into a relationship that's shooting through your brain, your brain and throughout your body are the things that people want to last forever, right? Those are the comfortable places that majority of people want to be. But the other side of getting better, right? Like someone that's not always going to make you feel great and clap for you every time you do something. Like the tough parts of the relationship are what really are supposed to build the bonds.
Correct.
Right? And I've said that before. We have come to a society, we weigh friendships on higher levels than relationships. Right? On relationships, we measure those things about how much we've been through together. On relationships, we measure those on how we feel. So your best friend, y'all done cussed each other out. Yeah, I mean, y'all almost fist fought, go home. 2 weeks later, man, we got through that. I went through a divorce. They was there with me. I lost that job. I thought I was going to lose my mind. They was there with me. In a relationship, if you don't feel good, they lose their job. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Where's the stability here? No, I don't know about this. How long can we do this before I got to leave? So we've learned, like we've been programmed to treat friends better than we've been programmed to teach people in relationship. And that's the sad part about our society today. What we're hearing constantly, what we're watching, and then we wonder why we never feel fulfilled in a relationship because you're not looking for a strong bond. You're not looking at some of those bad things can actually be healing points in a relationship.
Right.
Some of those things that you're going through can actually be a bond, the strength to strengthen the relationship. No, we want to run from those things.
The Bible says, be rude and all men speak well of you. So only go in places where you're celebrated. You're going against a straight biblical truth right there.
Correct.
You cannot, in order for you to grow, you can't only be where you're celebrated. You're going to have people that are in contradiction to you. You're going to have to be around people that don't agree with you. Not everybody going to like you, but if that's all you're seeking for is looking for people that like me, that allow me to be me and do this, then you're never going to grow. You're going to stay comfortable. And I think that's where we're getting to, a world where nobody wants to be accountable.
Right.
If I hold you accountable, then you're invading my space. You're invading my privacy.
You're negative.
Huh? You're negative. You're toxic. You're toxic. You're toxic. And again, these words, they take these words, and because they now are nouveau and apropos everywhere, everything's toxic.
Everything.
Nobody wants to hold accountability for anything when it comes down to it. So when we talk about, are you committed to the situation or to the relationship, the situation is always conditional.
Right. It's almost like people want convenient ships when it's convenient for them.
Correct.
Correct. They want the benefits of the relationship, but they don't want the responsibility of the relationship.
Right.
Or trying to make the relationship work.
Right.
Right.
That's the responsibility because it's going to take some work.
Right.
And here's the reality. A lot of the reason a relationship isn't working is because of them, and they don't want to change. They've got to look at themselves and say, wait a minute, I'm not doing something right here. I need to do something different. But I don't want to look at me, so I don't want to have a relationship because then I have to look at me. See, you can't come to me if we don't have a relationship. I don't have to be accountable for nothing. You ain't call me back. Well, I ain't got to. We're not in a relationship. Sorry. we in a situation thing. That's all we in. We not so no, I don't have to do that. Right. I don't have to be a gentleman. I just have to fulfill your need when it's needed or fill my need.
That's it. It's convenient.
It's convenience trips. Right. It's convenience trips.
It's crazy because we can see it in every other area of our lives, right? If we're not looking at us, right? Johnny been through 5 jobs in 2 years. What we know about Johnny? Johnny probably crazy. Johnny's in there acting a fool at every job, right? So they firing him left and right. We can look at it in any area of our lives, but when it comes to us, Lil Max go to school and he get detention every week. Lil Max bad, right? Like, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. But when it comes to us, and we keep saying we went through relationship after relationship after relationship, well, either your picker's off, right, or you're in a relationship doing something causing the relationship to go bad. But I think once we become numb to that fact, we definitely don't want to look at ourselves because that's 5 different bad decisions that we've made. That's 5 different times we've been the cause and the problem of everything that's going on. It's simple, right? You have to have 1 + 1 = 2. That's the part that most people don't want to deal with. If you're going through, if you everywhere you go, a fire breaks out, you might want to check your pocket for matches. But majority of people aren't willing to check their pocket. And I think that's what leads to this situation. Well, let me find something that works for me. Let me find something that financially I'm gonna be better at, that makes me happy for right now. No, I don't want any real commitment to this thing. I just want something that makes me feel good. So as long as I'm feeling good, I'll stick with it. But the moment I have to answer some tough questions, the moment I'm not getting exactly what I want, the moment that I have to look at me and expose myself and say, you know what, I was wrong, is when we cut it off.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe,
we don't. And but here's the deal, Doc. We only cut it off to be in search of it somewhere else.
right.
We don't cut it off so we can take time to check ourselves.
Correct.
We cut it off so that we can look for and search for the place that they'll celebrate us just where we are.
Right. So we can get that dopamine again, right? So we can get those feelings, those happy, jittery feelings once again. I want to take trips. Listen, I'm saying right now, like, I don't understand these dudes. Y'all dating them and y'all take them on $2,000-$3,000 trips and y'all come back and this is all it is dating. Like, I don't get that. Like, that's not a bond to me. I'm about to go spend $2,500, $3,000 on somebody I know I'm not going to be with. But I think that's what we're looking for in the Instagram society, what we're looking for in the Facebook society, right? So as long as we're taking trips and people can see that we're living life the way we want to live life, and this guy's treat me well, and this guy's feed me, and we don't really have too much of a connection, I'm completely happy with that.
So my question to you, so which one is the blame? Do we blame the guy for spending the $2,500, $3,000 on the trip because he got it, or do we blame the woman for seeking the guy who's able to spend $2,500 to $3,000 on a trip? Who's at fault?
To me, you mean who's at fault?
Who's at fault? Because if the guy is saying,
well,
I'm willing to spend the $2,500 to $3,000, and all I'm trying to do is take you on a trip, do what we do, take a few photos, but we over there in Bali doing it.
Right.
And when we come back, I'm gonna drop you off at your mama crib, and I'm going about my business. Do we blame him for being able to do it, or do we blame the girl and say, I'll go? If that's all we do is going to Bali, you finna spend $2,500, $3,000 on a trip. Plus, you finna, take me to where nobody else is taking me. Did you call her for doing that?
Go ahead, Doc. Because I got some.
I'm gonna blame him. Look, they say, well, it ain't tricking if you got it, you're still tricking the guy. It's tricking. I don't care what you say. If you got it, if you don't got it, you're tricking. But the grim reality is this is what that part of it was creating this idea that this woman is supposed to have this. Right. So as long as men are willing to do it, of course, women are going to take it. But right. Now it's so in our face right now that now a woman is expecting that to be a part of our dating. Right, that we're supposed to do these things, and it's like, no, that's not a bond, because that man that took you on a trip, how many trips have you been on like that?
Gotcha.
How many different men have you been on? Is it working? If you truly wanted a relationship, is this working? Because it's obviously not if you keep doing new tricks. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand the basis behind it. What are you looking for is what I would ask any person that's willing to do that over and over and over again.
Because of Chris, you asked who to blame. Here's my question. Is there responsibility on a woman on that trip? If he's spending $2,500, $3,000.
Oh, is there an expectation on the back end?
Correct. Is there? Is there? You know,
any woman is taking a trip overseas for $33 grand, it's an expectation. It's an expectation.
You know, and if there was, I saw that there on TikTok. It was the reverse of it. The girl flew the dude in. The girl flew the dude in. He got into the car. He picked up at the airport. He said, "Look, we get to the house. I'm knocking it. You gonna hit this when we get to the house." He said, "I ain't come here for that." She said, "Well, you get back on the plane and go back home, and I'm not buying you no ticket. I'm not doing nothing, right?" And so he was calling her kind of shady and shallow. And she was like, "Look, I bought you a first class ticket here. You accepted it. So basically, I'm gonna get what I want this weekend." And he was like, "Nah, I'm not that dude. You know, I thought we were friends. I thought we would just want to hang out." And she was like, "Nah, So if
She
you're
said
not
a local joke, but she could have hung out, man.
But that's the expectation of every man taking you on a trip.
Right.
I mean, it's no different. It's the same expectation. I'm gonna take her on this trip so I can smash her on weekend. So at that point, are you? I'm not gonna say it. You know, maybe I don't want to say it, but that's like a high class prostitute. I don't know how many times you do that. You're high dollar escort. These expectations need to be clear. They're clear. It's clear. I'm pretty sure it's clear if you spend $3,000 to take you on a trip. It's clear what you about to do.
So Malika say it may be an expectation, but at the same time, it's not guaranteed. So therefore, it's up to everyone to be clear on your intentions.
All right. So is the clarity before the ticket's bought?
No. If you say yes to we going, it's clear what the expectation is. We don't have to say
these expectations need to be clear. Agreed. Dawn says good evening, all.
Good evening, no. But so is the expectation. So if I surprise you with the trip, when do we discuss the expectation? After the ticket's already bought?
Listen, if you say yes to that trip, surprise ticket or not, the expectation is
or tickets are purchased.
Absolutely. And Tia said before the tickets are purchased. Okay.
Before the tickets purchased.
But what if that cuts off? Right? I think that's the thing. What if that trip you take one or two more and then all of a sudden it cuts off? Is that still somebody you want to be with?
No, because I don't think it was in the beginning.
I don't think you had a relationship.
Huh?
I don't think that you were in a relationship, and when those expectations or those definitions are clear.
And I think what Doc is saying is that seems to be an expected delivery by the man. So if that's an expected delivery, then we're really not in relationships.
Correct.
The people aren't even wanting those because unless you're going to do this to me, unless you're going to take me out, unless you're going to buy me things, we don't even have anything. But what is that we have? If all those things are the prerequisites, then what is that called? Because that's not a relationship. Because when it's gone, so is whatever we had.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And the woman is delivering two nowadays.
Explain that. Antia. Go a little bit deeper in that, Antia.
And I think the idea of what a relationship should be has to be redefined. Or what are the expectations of both parties inside of a relationship? Because if your entire need for a relationship is a certain level of stability, that's kind of scary to me, right? Because if anything becomes shaky, if your prerequisite of a relationship is stability, then once it's unstable, that person's gone.
Yeah, it's going to crumble.
Correct. It's going to crumble, right? So what are the other things that would bond the relationship?
I think these ladies will give you those, but I'm not sure that that's the way that they process it. You know what I'm saying? I think that they'll say all the right stuff. Doc, we've heard this before. We've heard women talk about all the right stuff, but then when you hold their feet to the fire, those things don't have as much value as some of the other superficial things. And I don't think that makes them superficial. I think it makes, in their mind, it makes them safe. It makes them, we got to prove something to them because of where they've been. Kristen says, so where does courtship fall into place to get to know a person? Courtship, yeah, I agree, Kristen. I don't think that's what we're saying. Courtship used to be part of an old relationship. It used to be a Ruth and a Boaz type thing. It's not that way anymore because I think both sides are impatiently getting to the end game because you want to know what you're getting.
Correct.
I don't have time, especially if you've been through this once before. Look at here, boo. Okay, let's cut through the red tape right now.
Right.
What is it you really want? What do we really have to do here to make this? Because I'm not wasting your time, you're not wasting mine, and this is how we are. So there really is no courtship like it should have been or could have been in most people's situations today. And
that's why I stopped believing in that whole notion of dating. Right? Because people don't spend the time to get to know each other. Right? Let's have some phone conversations. Y'all want to go straight from I like to relationship, not understanding who this person is, don't know what they're about, don't haven't seen them at their worst. They haven't seen them. You've seen them at their best because they put on their interview hat when they started talking to you. But how do they flare emotionally when it comes to money? When it comes to constructive criticism? Do they blame everybody for everything that goes wrong in their life? These are things that you have to map out first before you understand if this is someone I even want to be with in the first place. But that's why I don't believe in it. Get to know the people first, right? Because like I said before, that whole notion of money. I remember talking on the phone with a girl one time, and everything that she spoke about was high dollar. Right? Oh, I need this house, and oh no, the closet got to be huge for all these clothes I want to buy. And my ex-boyfriend, he used to do this, and this for me. And my ex said, "Listen, we don't even talk no more, ma'am, because the only thing I hear right now is you coming out a paycheck. Like nothing about you to me says you want anything but money." But some men would have seen her as attractive, and they would have tried to woo her with finances. The reality is, no, I'm broke. I'm always broke. I'm broke till I'm married. My wife can get everything. But if this is the way we're starting relationships based off of the physical attraction, based off of the sexual attraction, based off of this happy person, go lucky person that you meet when you first meet them, then they're always going to be trouble in the relationship. How you get them is how you got to keep them. And that's the unfortunate part. We're no longer leading with the character. We're leading with what can I give you? Or what can you give me? And then now we're in a relationship that is not satisfying either one of us.
And for men who need respect, if you look at the book Love and Respect, for men who need respect, we don't want to be with a woman who doesn't want to see us on the come up, be with us on the come up, because there's lack of respect there. When it really comes down to it, I don't want somebody who's not willing to be on the come up with me. Forget it. That's just what I remember getting divorced and starting completely over. And I remember meeting women and telling them up front, look, I'm not in a position to do that. Would you still like to get to know me? And it changed the discussion right away.
Yeah, real good. Real good.
I was gonna be straight up front, but here's the deal, no. Once you get to that place, because it's not about a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So when you do get back there, don't look at me twisted at this point. Don't try to slide back in my DM at that point, because the reality of it is you blew it. And I didn't forget that. I didn't forget the fact that you dismissed me based on what you saw me as at that time. Right. And I think that's where a lot of men really find. That's why I think a lot of players, look at LeBron James, married his high school sweetheart.
Facts.
I think when you really are with people who have seen you go through, they hold a different value in your life. And Doc, and I think that's why you said earlier, people value friendships more than relationships. And it shouldn't be that way. The people in your relationships should be the ones that have seen you go through all kinds of hell. They're celebrating you because they watched it go. Right. You got to be where you're celebrating. I think the relationships we're talking about, ladies are going where they're celebrated, where men are taking care of them, where I'm honoring you for who you bring to me. But it's not really any more than that, because you're gone if it's gone.
And that's why I said earlier, it depends. I think it really depends on in which phase of your life you met this individual. You mentioned LeBron James. You know, he met this individual before he was LeBron James. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, it was his high school sweetheart or whatever. So now you look at that relationship and you see nothing but just true love in that particular relationship. Someone who got my back, someone who seen me with nothing, and now I'm gonna give back to you. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it depends on the level in which they saw you on your come up or your rise. But I want to say this, I think in this day and age, people are willing and they go into the relationships with their own understanding of what they want out of the relationship, right? You got two people and both parties know exactly what their intentions are or what they're trying to get out of that relationship. And I think it's up to those two people to determine what that contract or that situationship or what that relationship commitment is going to be about. If they're just trying to, two people to say, the only thing we're trying to do is just hook up, then so be it. It's just those two people just trying to hook up. There's nothing on the outside of it. But making sure that those intentions on both parties are respected Because if you're saying the only thing you're trying to do is hook up and you just want the bag, but the other person's talking about, no, I want wifey material, you you didn't set yourself up.
Look, Antia says, I don't think a woman or man should buy love or brownie points, but it's becoming very popular in Duval that the women are taking care of men. Example, moving him in. He's dropping her off at work and driving her car. She's paying his child support payments, paying his phone bill, buying him expensive name brands, and just spoiling him because she's so desperate to have a man.
I don't think that's just popular in Duval County. I think that's all across the board. Because soon as tax season come up, you'll see every tax meme about him, this man with this woman. No one believes he should be with, waiting on his part of that check. I think it's all over society that we're seeing that now.
Let me ask you a question though. Let's flip that. You know, if that role was reversed, and everything that she just said about the man driving, that if the role was reversed, will we still have the same problem?
He'll be a good man.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
He will be labeled a good man.
Right. Mm. He's consistent. I can count on him. He's stable. You know, that's right. It's a double-edged sword, and we're looking at things two different ways. Now, the reason, Antia, that this is in existence is because the nature of men and their modern day emasculation, they are looking for mothers to take care of them. When you have boys that are being raised by single mothers on the larger scope, they're looking for women to take care of them. And because women still have this maternal instinct and this maternal desire, they invite these jokers just to do this stuff. It's crazy to me. But I think, again, like Doc said, the character standard is so gone. Men don't even care. Men are okay with a woman taking care of them.
And that was crazy. Like even the smallest minute things. Like we talk about opening doors. We talked about that on one episode. Like opening doors for women. Mm-hmm. And many of the women was like, no, that's not even a prerequisite. Why? Because people don't do it no more, right? Mm-hmm. People don't do it anymore. So if something as small as opening a door has fallen off, what about the other character? That's not even something that's thought about in a relationship. I always say it. People should be looking for their ABCs, not their DEFs. And the ABCs are always character things. Are they trustworthy, right? Are they consistent? Do they love, like all the things should be ABC, should be character oriented. It shouldn't be DEF. He needs to be 6'5". They need to drive XYZ. They need to make this amount of money. Well, every time you go after those three things, it becomes a problem if you're not looking at the character first.
You know, Doc, when I got caught up in watching that crazy catfish show,
can't do it.
And I started watching it, and I didn't even know it existed as a show. But I kind of got caught up watching episodes of it, and I'm watching these people talk to people online, Chris and Adrian, for 4, 5, 7 years. Text messaging only. Never video chatting. Never talking to people on the phone. And it's because they seek and they desire a relationship so bad that they overlook red flags that are obvious as hell. Mm-hmm. Because they want a relationship and they don't want a situation. They want a relationship so bad, they will endure this mythical thing because why? The person they're talking to is giving them their time. They're always there for them. They're listening to them. They walk me through this stuff. All the stuff. And here's the deal. You got two people, one who's desiring it and one who's so insecure they got to pretend to be somebody else in order to get it. I've even seen it to where the person was catfishing their own partner. And the partner was in love with the catfisher, and it was the actual person.
Yeah,
I mean, but they're looking for connection, and they're getting it anonymously, right?
It's no different from the pen pal to the inmates.
Yeah, nothing different.
It's the same thing.
But because they provide them that feeling of what they want.
It's that dopamine.
That's it.
That's all it is.
And stepping out. Soon as they step out of prison, have you ever watched them shows?
They ain't doing nothing.
So I have someone close to me, let's say that. They got married. Right before they got married, I was like, look, this probably is not the right decision. Buddy was in prison for, I think, he was in prison for like 10 years. Let's just say something. It was like 10 years.
Right.
And she's like, well, he's the only one that understands me. And I'm like, this is probably not the best decision. I'm like, the only one in this world that's outside of free people that understand you is someone in prison that has nothing but time to think of sweet nothings to tell you, right? And that's basically what he did. So she married him while he was in prison. She says, Adrian, the first week he got out, I hated this man. I didn't want to be with him. No. So you were there for the situation. He made you feel better than everyone else made you feel. He gave you all the compliments that you wanted. He gave you his time, because all he had was time. And the moment he got out, you realized that he wasn't the person, that he wasn't going to give you that same thing but in front of bars that he was behind bars. And that's what most people are engaging in calling a relationship.
We have this false sense of edification for people that we don't deal with on a daily basis.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
we have that with anybody who gives us nothing but great feelings.
Yeah, that's all it is. They edify them in their brain on a person that has limited access to who they really are. Right? That person ain't got to talk about no bills. That person ain't got to talk about how you handle bills. That person ain't told you how you handle your children. That person don't know your breath stink. That person don't know when you having crazy acts at the end of the month. They don't know nothing about you. All that they know is, I got 10 minutes to talk.
Right.
Let's get this out. And now you didn't edify that person, and that has nothing to do with you on a daily basis. And when they get out, then you realize, or when they see you in person, then you realize who that person truly is. And that image ain't the same.
And that's what that's what those relationships are. That's what the situations are. Mm-hmm. As long as all of these great things are happening constantly and I'm feeling wonderful about them, I'm in this situation. It crosses over to a relationship when no longer are there only great feelings, but now we're dealing with real life and we're willing to stick it out.
Right.
Then we've crossed over into a relationship. So if you're not getting everything you're supposed to get and you decide to jump out, you've never been in a relationship. You're always in situationships.
Right.
And most people aren't committed to going through anything past I feel great. Once I don't feel happy, once I'm not doing all the lovey-dovey stuff, the stuff I see on Instagram, the relationship goals, hashtags, then most people are stepping out.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's because they were never fully in anyway.
Correct.
Absolutely.
I mean, but they appear to be in, and they say they want to be in. And I think, again, all these things come subjectively until I'm confronted with them. I like that. I think people like the. I think people like the illusion of it, Doc and Chris. I think they like the feeling of it. I think they like the fairy tale part of it. The whimsical courting that's there, and oh my God, all this is here. But when it comes down to it, it's they have to really look at themselves and say, wait a minute. I'm not doing everything that's required, even of what I know to be required. I don't want to do that. So I'll play this other game because there's no responsibility there. When I'm catfishing somebody, I don't have to be, I'm totally into being another person. Mm-hmm. I'm in this alter ego. So there's no responsibility there. And I can be free without responsibility because that person is not real.
But is it any situation catfishing?
Yeah.
Isn't every situation catfishing?
Correct. No two ways about it.
Because
What you mean? But go back. Wait, go back.
Anytime I get into a relationship and I don't really understand the person that I'm getting in a relationship with, anytime that I put on my best face to get into a relationship, isn't that catfishing? Because I'm not truly being honest with who I am to you. I'm not telling about these things I have going on inside of my head. I'm not talking about my insecurities. I'm not talking about any problem or anything that's going on in my life that seems shaky. What I'm giving you 100% of is this false impression of who I should be.
But I think the true definition of catfish is knowingly going in trying to deceive. But I don't think that people get into a relationship trying to deceive. We may withhold, we may not tell right away, but I don't know if you're actually going into the relationship saying, I'm going to try to deceive this person.
I do.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, because think about it. What I'm saying to you is, what I'm saying up front is, don't say that because they're probably going to reject me. Don't say this because they're probably going to reject me. That's literally saying I'm going in holding back things to deceive the person I'm being in a relationship with. I only want to show the best of me.
Well, I don't know if that's what catfishing is, because catfishing is, I'm going to keep this in there. I'm going to intentionally always deceive you. And I think in relationship, I think there is a period in a time frame where I will disclose information to you. So
that's
if
a healthy. You're talking about a healthy relationship.
Oh, we're not talking about healthy.
I'm just saying.
I'm only here for healthy.
No, because we try to hide these things. It's people that try to hide these things for years.
Okay.
It's people that never want them to come out.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying.
I think
certain people that go up will never discuss that.
Yeah, but in that case, I do think you have people out there that would always just try to deceive. But I think when you try to deal in a healthy relationship, I don't know if that's necessarily just catfishing. I think that you protecting who you are, one, because you don't know how far this relationship is going to go. So I'm not going to just jump in talking to this young lady, telling her all my business on day one.
Okay. I can agree with that.
Okay. But I don't necessarily know if it's cat. What you say, Greg?
No, I think that when we look at I think the definition of it, the way it is this. But I think catfishing is just not presenting me because I don't think you'll accept me. When someone catfishes you, they want to be real. They're afraid that you won't accept the real me. So I'm gonna paint this new picture.
But it has nothing to do with who they are. I would agree with this with the Malika lady, young lady. She says catfishing is being someone you're not by pretending to be someone else.
No, I don't know. I don't believe that. Because here's the deal. The people, you fall in love with a picture, but the person who's connecting to you, that's who you're talking to. So that's really who they are. The catfish is the illusion of the presentation of what you're looking at. Because the reality of it is, I've fallen in love with how this person treats me. That's who they really are. That's genuinely who they are. When you see those whole things exposed, when they stand in front of that person, having misrepresented physically who they are, here's what they say to them. But this is me. You actually connected to who I am.
Yeah, on a deeper level.
Right. I didn't think you would like what you saw.
Right.
So I gave you something else, but I gave you truly who I am when it comes down to it. And I don't think people do that. I think people do. I think people do the same thing. They give you what you think you'll like to see.
Correct.
Right. I think on some of those cases on catfish, I could see that, but I've also seen them where they're totally, that ain't got nothing to do with who they are. You know what I'm saying? I haven't seen episodes where the guy was married and he was catfishing. A young lady told the young lady he was single and he was in law school. That joker was a mechanic in Alabama. You know what I'm saying? It had nothing to do with who he really was. You know what I'm saying? But I see your point. I do see in scenarios where you may not like your external appearance, and you feel that if you show the external first and let them fall in love with the internal, that something will click in the other person to allow them to override what they see.
Yeah, and so here's my point, Chris. Because here's what I look at. They say, well, you deceived me. But I'm thinking to myself, well, hold on. But you were in love with that person. You literally spent 3 years talking to this person.
Right.
But when you see them and they're not who you thought they were physically, now all of a sudden, everything that mattered to you no longer matters. Because what I see now is deceiving. And so now you're a liar. But for 3 years, you literally were in love with everything I said, hung on every word, and wanted to stay there.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. You were in love with something made you overlook real stuff that's ignorant. They don't even video chat with you for 4 years. You still there. You had to like something because you couldn't see it.
They got a whole flip phone.
Right? You know what I'm saying? But I think, Chris, I think what Doc was saying was it's maybe a derivative of catfishing. In other words, I'm not presenting who I really am.
I get it.
And now we're here. And I think that's who people do. I know guys now who would downplay their finances just to see if a girl like them.
Sure.
I've seen some of them. I've seen some of those. It's funny. You see
That's
some
what
of
Doc
the
said.
TikTok,
That's
those
what
gold
Doc
digger.
said. Doc said he broke.
Yeah, but I've seen those ones on Gold Digger on TikTok where the dudes are act poor as I don't know what, trying to holler at the girl, and the girl won't talk to him, and then he said, "Well, all right, man, I'll holler at you later," and they go get in his car.
Yeah,
Well, all
I've
of a
seen
sudden, that
Yeah,
whole
right.
attitude change. Wait a minute, this your car? Well, yeah, this is my car. What's up? Oh, now all of a sudden she want to holler. At first you had a man. Now you
Right.
ain't got no man. Now your
Right.
man, it don't matter if you're
Right.
gonna take me for a ride in your car.
Right.
It's crazy. So again, they would be tied to the situation and not the relationship. Because you just told me you had a man a minute ago, but now that you see this in my car, now I said, well, where your man at? Oh, well, don't worry about him. We go, so again, here's the messaging that's really there.
Right.
And for most guys, it's very hard to even address that.
Right.
When it comes down to it.
Because I think I really believe people who truly want to be in a great relationship, people who truly
Exactly.
want to be connected to someone else, don't necessarily see a situation like being in a situation where someone is taking advantage of me or I'm taking advantage of them.
Sure.
They want to be vulnerable, right? And I think that's what we really try to put out there for men, right? Like for us men, we've all been through a divorce before, all three of us. We've all tried to save our marriage and during that time period of going through a divorce. And I think it's more genuine relationships that I think we seek as men. And I think a lot of people should start to value and seek those type of genuine relationships. But anytime that you're putting forth an ultimatum, anytime that you have a prerequisite of something that can that's fleeting, like money, there's going to be a problem.
Right.
And that's something that's never going to lead to a true relationships that people can bond to. It's always going to lead to another situationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what we need to really just remind people of, or just be aware of, ladies and gentlemen who are watching now, watching later, what are you really in it for? And if you're in it for a relationship, it's got to be handled a completely different way. There have to be some moral standards, a level of moral code, a level of character that has to precede all of the other, as Doc puts it, DEFs. Y'all got to, you all have to really look at that and say, here's where it is. And men have to do the same thing. Who do you think is harder to do it for? Is it harder for men to step back and say, this is the woman I want? Or is it harder for the woman to step back and say, no, that's not the man I want?
I think it's hard for both.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for something that's superficial, it's harder for both.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, she said, at the end of the day, you don't have to second guess your feelings when it's something real. Christina said it's harder for men. And I believe it's harder for men because I believe there's more responsibility on men, and it's harder for men to figure out if the woman is a gold digger. I think that's a harder situation. I think women have the ability to see early on. It takes men a little bit longer. But I think a woman can have that interaction up front and see what the dude's going to do. But I think it takes men a little bit longer, and it's harder because of our willingness to provide, or our nature to provide, that we're going to do that anyway. And it takes time to see if they're going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I think it depends on the type of woman that you're actually going for, or going, or that you're attracted to, or that you decide to do life with. I don't worry about those things. I want somebody to do life with. I want someone to do partnership with. I want somebody we're gonna get the bag together. I want somebody that's who I'm attracted. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, it's opposite. So I think it's both of us are, always trying to figure out, what that next step is going to be.
And I think that is the model healthy. Right. And I think that's not the norm nowadays, Chris. Unfortunately, I think it's the desire for a lot of people, but it's not the norm. Because I think there's so many people that are trauma bonding, and there's so many people that are still hurting and not healing, that doesn't become where they want to go, because that in the past has created too much pain for some people.
Right. And I don't think many of the women realize if a man, not all, of course,
right,
if a man desires to control you, he's going to try to do it through money.
Correct.
So a lot of the women that are going through these situations are not realizing the reason he's throwing money at you is to get you in a position to control you.
That's good. That's good, eh?
Mm-hmm.
If
Right.
you ever look at, I'll say it again, if you ever look at a pimp, what's the first two things pimp's going to do? He wants to control the money. He wants to control the people that are around you. And so when men throw money at you, there's an expectation behind that money that he's throwing at you. And it's more so to dumb you down and control you.
Correct.
In majority of cases. I'm not saying all, but majority of cases, this is what he's looking to do.
Mm-hmm. And yet some of these women will go after men that have money and don't realize that they're actually setting themselves up for the bait that's being used.
Correct.
It's crazy.
Wow.
So hope you
Great
enjoyed.
show.
Good. Hope you
Great show.
Hope you enjoyed the conversation, ladies. Again, we still look forward to your commentary. We didn't bring anybody on tonight, but we want you all to reach out. We'd love for you to be on. We'd love for you to share your feelings about topics. We love these discussions. I think they're healthy. I think they're balanced. I think they are challenging, and that's good. So I think we all want to be at a level of accountability when it comes to who we are and what we're doing. I know it's benefited me in my relationships. I know it has with Chris and Daniela, and I know it does with Doc. So I think that's all a piece of where we want to go. We want to be the same for you guys. So
She said, "Put out cheese. You're a rat." God damn. We need to have her on the show next time. Put out some cheese. You'll attract a rat.
okay, yeah. Again, reach out to us. We want y'all. We love y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm the real GM, the health evangelist, Grayson Marshall Jr. And my partner tonight, he was at the top, but he's at the bottom now. None other than
Dr. Adrian, never forget the A. Gentry. I'm leaving it at that tonight. I ain't got no energy. I'm going to get in bed.
and my man at the top who always gets it in, keeps it balanced, and is always the moral code of the conversation.
The stuff that God downloads, brother. I'm just trying to live by it. So, Chris Allen, On the Grind Coach. Go check out our brand, onthegrindfit.com, onthegrindfit.com. We got some amazing things coming up. So, go check us out.
AKA
Dawn, you got to email us so we can know, so we can send you the link.
Black Sunshine.
We love y'all. We'll see y'all next week. Talk to you soon. Peace.
All right, peace.